Hey guys, so I'm just gonna jump into my story with fibro just because I feel I can't really tell and do the rest of the videos without getting my story out of the way, being that I connect to this to what I'm saying a lot. So everything started for me back in 2004, 2002, 2004. I was in a minor car accident. Long story. And I hit a wall dead on and didn't crash the car too bad. From that point on, I went to work, and a few weeks after that accident, I started to feel the onset of pain. And it started happening just all of a sudden. It was pain in my right arm, it was pain in my back, it was pain in my neck, and it was unusual pain. It wasn't the normal, you know, I'm feeling a little pain. It was this odd pain that I didn't understand. And so I let it go for about a month until it started to interfere with my work. And I'm thinking, what can I be suffering from that's interfering with my work? I haven't been in anything traumatic. And then that accident came back into mind, and I was like, well, that was that little accident, but I felt fine afterwards. So I made a doctor's appointment and went and saw the doctor, and that's when all the testing started. I first went and saw a hand specialist because my hand started to hurt the most. This hand, my right hand. And I saw the hand specialist, and we went through hand therapies, and then he referred me on to this doctor, and then he referred me on to that doctor, and it was, we have to test you for things. I'm going to test you for cancer. And I was like, cancer? When I heard that, I was like, whoa, let's slow down a bit. I just got pain. What you going to test me for cancer for? But I had a bunch of CAT scans. I had bone scans, bone denstromies, MRIs in the pelvics, internal external ultrasounds, EEGs, which if you've never had one of those things, it is where the doctors stick these 6 needles in you, and it gives these little waiting waves of shock to something about your nerves. That shit hurt. That's all I know. I don't care what it was for, it hurt. I've had tons of x-rays, everything. I've had every possible test that I could have. This went on for about a year and a half. And it wasn't until, I can't remember the doctor that diagnosed me. It's in my notes somewhere. The first doctor that diagnosed me was Dr. Martha Grandetz. I love that lady. She's still my doctor today, so yay. But she was the first person who told me that I had this back in 2004, and I never heard of it before. I didn't know what the hell. I thought they were kidding me. They said, fibro, what? I took it home, and I took home the booklet and stuff that they gave me, and I was like, all right, I gotta sit through this and read through it, and I didn't know how serious it was. I was like, it sounds like some made up shit, fibromyalgia, pain condition, whatever. I started to read through it, and the reality started to sink in that this is not some bullshit. This is pretty real. And I kept reading and reading, and I didn't do so much research at first because they had gave me so many books to read. And the reality was sinking in. The worse I was becoming physically. That this is serious. My body started to shut down on me. I couldn't sleep. The pain was getting intense. I couldn't walk very well. I couldn't use my hands very good. And this was all because I was in the beginning stages, and there was no medications I was taking. There was no anything. And, as time progressed and I finally started seeing the right doctors, and I started getting prescribed medications. And I'm thinking, okay, I've never in my life had to take as many medications as this. I don't even know how to pronounce half of these things, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to go ahead, and that's what they say do. And so I started taking these medications, and, some days I just sat back and I cried because I was alone in it. No one understood. I didn't even understand what the hell I was going through. I didn't know. I had a 2-year-old son, and actually it was in 2004, so he was 4. Um, Here I was 24 years old. I didn't know what to expect, and I had to adapt to a routine. I've seen the doctor of taking my medications. I had to quit my job because I worked in shipping at a Macy's, and so I had to quit that because it was too strenuous on my body. So that was when I knew that it was real, when I could no longer work. And when I stopped working, I had to get on welfare. And I was already receiving like food stamps and medical support. Um, I had received cash, at the beginning, but here I had to solely depend on the government to take care of me in every aspect, and it was the most degrading thing to ever go through, and nobody ever knew that. It was something that I held my head up, and I was like, I have to do it, and, it's not the end of the world, but there's nothing like not being able to take care of yourself and not having a choice in it. So I'm taking these medications. I remember I was taking 8 medications at one time. Don't ask me the names. I don't remember them. I knew it was a lot of drugs that I had to take at that time. And, fast forward a little bit, my condition is worsening. I don't know if I'm coming and going. I don't understand what's happening to my body. I don't understand why I can't walk in the morning. I don't understand why I'm getting sensitive all over, why my body hurts to touch, to scratch. I just didn't understand it. I was like, well, this shit doesn't make sense. Who deals with this? And it's not terminal. I was looking for them to tell me I was going to die in like 3 months. Never happened. Thank God. But I became really, really depressed. Really depressed. At the beginning stages, I was suicidally depressed. I did not want to deal with the pain. I was very weak. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to deal with this pain. I'm just not going to fucking do it. And then I realized you're not alone. You have a kid. So you can't give up, And so I didn't, obviously. I kept going. The medication taking got really hard because I started to feel a lot of the side effects in a bad way. And I overdosed a few times accidentally on the medications. And everybody said, how can you accidentally overdose on medications? Dude, like, you can't accidentally overdose. You actually can. I would keep them all in the kitchen cupboard, and I have them lined up. And there were specific times of the day that I was supposed to take specific medications. And so I take this one, and I take that one, and I take this one, and I take that one. And then as my pain started to get worse and the side effects were kicking in, things started to blur. The fibro fog, which started to kick in. And I'd forget that I already took this medication. And I'd take it again, thinking that it was supposed to be the other medication. And because all I saw was the bottle, and they all had the same look-alike labels. And the first time I realized that it was an overdosing, I passed out and I woke back up. And I was like, what the hell happened? And I went to my doctor, and I told my doctor what happened, and she said, be very careful with your pills. She said, you might have took too many of this or that one. And that was when I knew, okay, you got to do something about this. But I didn't. I was like, just concentrate more on your medications. The second time I kind of got sick or passed out, my son was with me, and we're in the house. Called the ambulance, and all I remember is waking up on that little hospital bed with all these tubes in me, pumping me with fluids, and my son sitting on the bed with me because they were trying to get a hold of my mother and my sister, and they couldn't. So here I think my son was 5 years old, sitting on the bed while his mom's knocked out. And doctors are trying to, he wasn't crying or anything, he was being really good, but they couldn't get a hold of my mom or my sister, so there he sat with me until they released me, and then I got a hold of my sister like 7 hours later. And that was when I came home and I started to label my medications. I took a big black marker and I just labeled 1 through 8 on the bottle. And that helped me because I knew that at 6 o'clock, you're taking number 2 and 3 and 1. So I kept track of it by numbers. And I knew that if I picked up that bottle, more than one time in the day, something was wrong. If I picked up, number 3 more than one time, you watch what you're doing. So it helped me a lot. It really did. The last time that I accidentally overdosed, it was with a medication that was really, really strong, and I don't think I realized how strong it was. And because it said that I could take 2 of these pills within set hours, I doubled up on them, thinking, well, if I gotta wait 6 hours, I might as well take it now. And I remember that moment just being very scary for me because I knew what was going on. I think my son was like 6.5 at the time. I was standing in the kitchen. I just finished cooking dinner, and I just felt lightheaded. And I knew that I had accidentally overdosed myself in this medication, especially since I had felt this feeling before, but I knew right away. I felt like, what the hell? And before I passed out or anything, I grabbed my phone and I dialed 911, and I remember telling them, I think I overdosed on my medication. I feel really lightheaded. I'm here with my son alone. I need to go to the hospital. And I dropped the phone, and the next thing I remember is my son. I actually unlocked the door. After I dropped the phone, I was able to make it to the door. I unlocked the door, and I remember waking up in the hospital with my son. My son was there with me again, and in the bed. This time they wasn't pumping me with anything, but the doctor did say, good thing you called us, you did take too much of this medication. And from that point on, because it was such a strong drug, they wouldn't allow me to have it anymore. They said that this is something you have to be very careful with, and so I wasn't allowed to have that one anymore. And it was a good thing, because I was really afraid. I was really, really afraid at that moment. One of the hardest parts has been being a single mom. At a very young age, I had to teach my son the number one important thing that to this day freaks me out that I even had to do. He got his first cell phone when he was 6, and I had to tell him and show him how to dial 911 and what to say to them in case something ever happened to me, because we lived in a townhome and we had stairs, and I fell down the stairs plenty of times by my legs giving out under me, going to the bathroom, or not realizing that the medication had taken its toll and I just couldn't move. And I remember telling him, these are the numbers you dial. When when they answer, you tell them emergency, my mommy is hurt, and you just leave the phone on. And remember, just having to tell him that, it freaked me out. Because no parent should ever have to tell such a young child something like that. And my son has seen me in so many different lights. I wonder what goes on in his mind, But he's the kind of kid who, when I'd be curled up on the floor crying, at 6 years old, he'd come and rub my stomach and he'd go, you'll be okay, Mom. You'll be okay. And then here it is, this little 6-year-old kid patting my back, rubbing my head and getting me a glass of water saying, you'd be okay, Mom, you'd be okay. What a strong kid. I couldn't have asked for a more amazing kid to deal with this situation. Yeah. Well, I said I'm going to keep them under 15 minutes, so I will continue this right away, but